Welcome to the Hoop Threads podcast. Here with episode two of our next up coaching series. Here with coaching veteran Chester Frazier, young veteran at Virginia Tech. Chester, how we feeling, man?
What's up, man? How you doing, man? Thanks for having.
Baltimore's finest, man. Glad to have you on the pod. Appreciate the time. So we'll jump right into it, man. Talk about your playing career, your journey, kind of how you got from the east side of Baltimore, playing for Coach Herman Reed at Clifton Prep, went to prep school and then Illinois.
Man, so take it a step further. I'm from Hollander Ridge Projects. Grew up there till I was probably about 14. I had never played organized basketball till probably 13, 14. I met crazy Janelle from that was around Team Thrill,
Hmm.
with me and those guys. She found me just playing outside in the park. And
Wow.
they were playing, she would just pick us all up in her little MPV Mazda. It'd be like 10 of us in there, me, Paris Carter, a lot of people just, finding, little rec league games. And so I credit her with really discovering me and finding my talent. And she had a little rec situation up at Furley Recreation Center where we would just go play. And then Cecil Kirk saw me from there. So Duty saw me and those guys. So me and Paris ended up going to play Cecil Kirk. And that was kind of where my AAU career started, playing, down Cecil Kirk. So from 14 and under to 17 and under, played at Cecil Kirk. I started my high school career at Mervo. I played 3 years at Mervo. And then my senior year, I went over to play with Paris at Lake Clifton for my senior season. Um, and then after my senior year, didn't feel like, had the offers and the looks I wanted. So I ended up going to prep school up at Notre Dame Prep. Shout out to Bill Barton. I don't know how much you know about Notre Dame Prep, but that'll make a man out of you real fast. Went up to Notre Dame Prep, had a real good prep year. We had some good players on our team. A lot of good, cool coaches came through to see us, and so it was a 6 o'clock practice. They actually were there to see Chris Howard. I don't know if you know who Chris Howard is. He ended up playing in South Florida, I think. And I'm man, I'm having the morning of my life. I'm picking up full court, I'm making shots, running the team. So they send an assistant coach back. Um, I want to say they sent Tracy Webster back to see us. So he puts both of us in the room. He's like, "Yo, I like both of y'all. Whoever you go get it, this who we taking." I'm trying to kill Chris. I'm trying to destroy Chris that day, and anybody else for that matter. You know what I mean? Like I'm winning. So I end up dunking on this 6'9" kid from Baltimore. He played at Cecil with us, Demetrius Phillips. I bang on him, still having the typical night, and the rest from there is history. I ended up signing with Illinois. Plays 4 years at Illinois. I thought I had a good career, man. Top 10 in assists, 20 wins per season, went to three NCAA tournaments, started 3 years, was a captain. Um, I always knew I was going to coach. Had an opportunity to play in Germany. I played 2 years in Germany after college. Um, Ended up doing a grad assistant slash video spot for a year. Help with scouting, help with video, did everything, player development. I did a little bit of everything. I went back overseas for a year, and then after that year, Coach Weber got fired at Illinois, ends up getting a job at Kansas State. So I'm taking you full circle on how it kind of all went down. But I always knew I was going to coach. That was kind of my role as a player. I was point guard, players coach. Um, coach. I coached on the floor. I was a leader, big time vocal guy, always bringing my dudes along with me. And I knew I was going to coach at some point. I just didn't know it would be at 25. So I get, Coach Weber gets Kansas State, calls me like, "Yo, you ready to start coaching?" And he's like, "Well, I got an operations job." I said, "Coach, I'm gonna be honest with you, man. That's not the best use of me. I'm not gonna be able to be on the floor. Not gonna be able to recruit. Um, I'm not the most organized dude in the world. You know what I mean? Like you don't want me as your ops guy. I'll just go back. I got a good deal to go back overseas." So he called, makes call. Crazy thing ends up putting Brad Corn in the op spot and put me in the third assistant spot. and it all worked out. Brad's the head coach at SEMO. I'm where I'm at, and it all worked out. So 7 years there. We went to two Big 12, won two Big 12 championships. Uh, Went to the Elite Eight, five NCAA appearances. Had some really good players: Dean Wade, Barry Brown, Kamal Stokes was from the DMV. We had a lot of talented kids that were really under the radar. It's where I really learned to hunt because I didn't know anybody coming into the business. I only knew like the Baltimore guys. Bub, God rest the dead. Cecil Kirk, who didn't have much for me at that time. GD was doing the Baltimore, the Adidas thing with Quickly and those guys. So it wasn't much going on as far as guys that I felt like, yo, like I got a hub to bring to K-State with me. So I had to learn how to hunt. I started going to my first recruiting trip. I went to California. I'm figuring, hey man, it's a big state. The 10th, 15th best player there is probably a high major guy. So my first recruiting trip, Ato from Compton Magic took me around the whole city. He took me to see all the guys in the city, a couple of JUCO guys. I spent the whole day in California. So shout out to Tope for that, real one for that. I didn't know anybody. Him and AJ showed me around. So I go from there. Um, so I'm learning the business. I'm recruiting guys I have no business recruiting at K-State because I'm green. I don't know.
Mm.
I'm recruiting dudes that are like blue blood dudes, but I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get in there. So I'm just establishing relationships. I go to Florida. I'm going to Florida. I'm going to different places. So I learned how to hunt, young because I didn't know anybody. So I had to build networks fast and try to build a recruiting base for a place like Kansas State is pretty rough. So went from K-State. Did a lot of cool things there, 7 years. Felt like I needed to get out of there, get closer to home, get more in my wheelhouse, and ultimately learn from somebody different. I had coached with Coach Weber, played for him, and I'm like, man, I need, if I'm ever going to be a head coach, I need to, be under somebody different and learn something different. So I went Coach Young. 2 years here. First year was was rough. We were young. This was before the portal, mind you. We trying to put a team together. Buzz had left, and took the whole recruiting class with him. We left. He left Landers Nolly and Tyrese Radford, two really good players, Wabisa Beatty, and we had to build a whole roster from that. So put it together. We were 16-16. We didn't have a bad year. A terrible year for the talent level we had and the experience we had. We beat Michigan State, who was number three that year. We beat Carolina. So we were building. And the next year, we end up, being an NCAA tournament team. Coach won Coach of the Year. That was, kind of a shortened season with COVID, but we lose to Florida in the first round. Illinois calls. They lose three assistants. So obviously, I'm an alum. Go out there, spend 3 seasons there. First year there, we won the Big Ten. Cool, everything's smooth. Next year we go to the NCAA tournament, lose to Arkansas, and then the next year we win the Big Ten tournament championship and Elite Eight. So, leave there, go to West Virginia for a year, and then come on back here. It all goes full circle.
What a
Full
run.
circle,
What a run. You
crazy.
still got a year by year. Shout out to Wabisa Bide, by the way, assistant coach at UMD
Yeah.
right up the street from me. Gotcha. Talk about how your game and role was kind of different in high school, and Notre Dame prep versus college, and then kind of how that's informed your coaching and development.
Well, the crazy thing about me, even in high school, like I was always one of the best guard rebounders. I felt like I always had a knack for rebounding the ball. Why? Because I used to play a game called 50 put out. We play 50, and, we in the neighborhood we playing 50. I'm small. I got to learn how to track the ball, get a nose for the ball. So I will always be a really good rebounder. I'm playing with the older guys in the neighborhood, so that's where I learned to rebound from. So I was never like a 30-point guy. Like I could probably score 30, but I was always like that 16, 17, 8 assists, 8 rebound, 3, 4 steals, a block. Like I just did a little bit of everything. So I took pride in defense, guarded, just the competitive nature. Just like I said, coming from the neighborhood, man, just, you don't want somebody to embarrass you. You out there, you trying to guard. And it's where we from, man. We from Baltimore. We lock up. So, um, I've always appreciated guys that play the game the right way. I tried to play the game the right way, unselfish, cared about my teammates, cared about winning first. Um, So my role in high school, I had to do a little bit more scoring, and even at prep school, I scored a little bit more. But when I got to college, man, it was eye opening. Going from that speed at the high school level to how strong and physical the Big Ten was as a freshman. It was tough. So I built my body up. I got stronger. And again, I appreciate playing for somebody that was honest with me. Coach Weber never lied to me. He said, "Look, I don't care if you make 10 shots or no shots. I just need you to run my team, guard, and get everybody involved. I'll never take you out the game." He was honest. I mean, shit, my sophomore through senior year, I never came out the game. I played like 33 minutes a game. So, did I want to score more? Hell yeah. Shit. I want to score the ball, but I embraced my role. I embraced my role, and if he told me that's what we need to do to win, I believed in it. So, my scoring numbers weren't ever great, but I always had high assist numbers, high rebound numbers. I guarded the best players, so um, I do gravitate to two-way players. I love guys that can play both ends of the floor, um, guys that compete, guys that play hard, guys with high character, guys that win. Winning is important evaluation tool, and you win with guys that play the game the right way and compete. So I've always, as far as evaluation, um, I've done a good, I think I've done a pretty good job evaluating and developing players, kind of seeing shortcomings and being able to, enhance these guys' games. But from the mold clay, the raw clay is he a competitive kid? Is he athletic enough to compete at this level? And is he a worker? And after that, I mean, you can build a pretty good player if they have that foundation.
What advice would you go back and give yourself after year one at Illinois in that role?
Advice?
Yeah.
Yeah, what advice? You know what, man? And I probably never told anybody this. Um, I would be a better communicator. I would
Mm.
be a better communicator. There were things that I thought that we should have done differently on certain, both sides of the ball. And instead of you know, having a real conversation with Underwood about some of that stuff. We clashed heads a lot just because, they play drop. I wanted to hedge more. I wanted to be more aggressive defensively, but I don't think I communicated the right way. Just me reflecting and I didn't communicate the right way. Just would walk around pissed off and saying should do this, should do this. I wasn't the best teammate in that regard, just trying to help us win and seeing that, certain things, wasn't the way I wanted them to be and I could have communicated better. But I would just be a better communicator overall. Um, and just, try to meet in the middle sometimes, man. Sometimes we get a little bullheaded, stubborn, and want things the way we want them. But that would be my advice. Just be a better communicator, especially as an assistant coach. It's not your program, it's not your show. Obviously I'm a competitor. I want to win, but at the same time, you got to work well with other people in that regard.
What have you learned about a well-structured program? Like, what does the head coach look for in assistants, GAs, video coordinators, GM, allocating roles, developing your coaches over the course of the year? What have you learned about that?
Yep, that's being a CEO, man. It's not just being a head coach. I mean, you have so much stuff going on as a staff. You as a head coach, you can't do everything. You can't. You got to be able to delegate roles. You got to have people you trust first and foremost if you're a head coach. And these staffs are getting bigger and bigger, so there's a lot of role allocation. You got development guys, you got offense, defense, maybe special teams. You have recruiting. You have all phases of basketball that you should be able to cover with this. It's the biggest staff as you have. But the biggest thing, man, is relationship with players. I feel like each staff member should have relationships with players. You have to be able to communicate effectively, scout, um, you know, um, and then at the end of the day, you're an extension of the head coach. You never undermine the head coach. You always have his back, and you always want to be on the same page. So, if the main goal is winning, then the main goal is winning. Then keep the main thing the main thing. But if you're talking about head coaches and staffs, I think it's important that you stay connected with your staff role allocation is important. Everyone should know where they stand. Communication is a big part of that, and just seeing it from several different high level programs, man. I've been a part of winning since I've been coaching. Fortunate, a lot of people don't can't say that they've won. So I've seen it. I've seen it done at the highest level, and that's been some of the staples. Just effective communication, role allocation, relationships. Getting guys to play hard for you and play for the team, and not be individuals.
Give me a moment of assistant coach excellence. Could be you or a coworker as far as like a crucial sub, a halftime coach's huddle, a practice moment, something they said they got through to a
Man,
player or the head coach. What you got?
it's been too many to name. But so as an assistant coach, if you want, if anybody's listening, you want to be a high level assistant coach, everything can't hit the head coach's desk. It's just impossible. He doesn't have to deal with every little thing in the program. So sometimes you have to take initiative and do certain things, um, and he may not know about it. Just cleaning up mess. Our job is to protect him, make sure he doesn't get his jersey dirty. He's a quarterback, so we have to protect the head coach at all costs. So, I mean, and most times, man, most of these guys come for the relationships with the assistant coach. Let's just be honest. So, you know, a lot of times there's some kind of disconnect, head coach and player. Our job is to bridge that. So a lot of times it's cleaning up mess. It's just, hey, coach wants you to do this, and behind the scenes we're trying to figure the best way to communicate and bridge that gap between a 60-year-old man and a 19-year-old kid, and we're the liaison for that. So I mean, I can't tell you how many times, man, just having those one-on-ones with guys watching film, and the head coach can be hard on the guy, but you're just communicating that what we need in a better way than the head coach can, and getting them on the same page. I remember we had at K-State, we had Barry Brown. And Barry was a jack monster. You know what I mean? Barry's shooting the ball. So anytime we watch film, you clicking and you're watching all his bad shots. And Barry was like big on like, but y'all don't say nothing when I make it. You know what I'm saying? I don't say that when I make it. And it's like, you had to get him to understand, like, oh, okay, nobody will argue with a made shot, but can you get a better shot? And sometimes your best player has to have a little more rope when it comes down to shooting and taking shots. You can't critique every shot that one of your best players has, or otherwise they get gunshot. So I used to have those one-on-ones with Barry about shot selection, man, and just keeping it away from Coach Weber, because it's everything can't be so black and white. It's like, yo, like, but I work on that. I'll practice these shots. You can't tell me I can't shoot it. So there were plenty of times where they would bump heads on shot selection. I had to clean that up. Or like Coach Young, why I love playing for Coach Young. He'll look down to you like, yo, give me a play call quick. Like, give me a call. And if it works, man, always dap you up after, make you feel good about it. As coaches, we need to feel good. We need to be praised at times too, man, because sometimes you get in this thing, it's like, yo, you're just doing your job, but you never hear good job or thank you for doing a good job. And I think Coach Young does the best job of doing that, as far as just being in the moment with you, and then also being appreciative of the work you do. So it's a lot.
While you are one of the best evaluators, and in my opinion, evaluators of talent and recruiters, a lot of time young African American assistants kind of get put in that box. Talk about what you've learned about developing kind of the rest of your coaching game to be a well-rounded, assistant coach on the bench
Yeah.
that helps teams win.
Well, the crazy thing is, I would say that's the worst thing I do is recruit. Just being honest, I'm a basketball dude. You know what I mean? I'm a basketball junkie. I live it, breathe it. I probably watch more film than anybody in the world. Offense. Being a defensive guy, I understand offense because I always think the game in terms of how to stop things and how to, how would I guard this, and that makes you a better offensive coach. I've always had a high defensive pedigree. I come from defensive stock with Coach Weber. Obviously, we spent 2 hours on defense a day, damn near. So me being through going through that, I've always been more intrigued on the offensive side of the ball. So it's like how to manipulate a defense, how to, everybody's defense is defense, but it's only so many things you can do defensively. You're going to hedge, switch, drop, ice. Offensively, you can be as creative as you want to be. So there's all types of creativity with how you screen and ball screens and how to utilize your pieces. And I've always found that stuff fascinating. So like, yeah, I've never thought of myself as just a typecasted recruiter. I'm a basketball coach. I do everything. So especially with my ambitions of being a head coach, I've always took pride in, my scouting and preparation for games and not just recruiting. So yeah, to answer your question, I mean, we can get that typecast and especially as black assistant coaches, they're just recruiters, but no, like, some of us are really damn good basketball coaches.
Yeah. And it's easy to simplify it when you get the results on the recruiting trail, but they don't see kind of the unseen hours, kind of to what you just spoke on. You've been around some really good offensive minds with very different recruiting strategies, evaluating, philosophies. What consistencies do you see in elite offenses?
Shot selection, teams that don't turn the ball over. Um, shot quality is key. And then being able to generate easy baskets, high efficiency baskets. Obviously, layups, dunks, lane shots are high efficiency shots. Uncontested shots. Um, you know, uh, Wide open threes, catch and shoot threes are high efficiency shots. Obviously, getting to the free throw line. Guys that can manufacture paint touches and get fouled. Some of the best scorers in the world are guys that take a high volume of free throws. So just trying to find ways to every offense is trying to find an advantage and get the most efficient shot. Assisted baskets are good, but you also you have guys that are great isolation players. I can create havoc for defenses by getting to the paint. The hardest thing to guard is the basketball in college. It's hard to stay in front of the ball with the rules. You can't touch, you can't really be as physical as necessary on the ball. So then there's cutting. Coach Young's a big screener, off ball movement guy. I was at Illinois where it was heavy isolation, heavy ball screen, and then kind of with Coach Weber, it was motion, and then it turned into hybrid ball screen motion later in his career at Kansas State, where we played a lot of pick and roll. So the game has changed a lot since I played it. When I played it, it was catch the ball, don't dribble it, reverse it, pin away, screen away, flare, pin down. Now it's straight attack. It's pace. It's transition. It's dribble drive, ball screens, and it's playing to advantages. The game is now played in a mismatch. So how can you get two to the ball? A lot of ball screens, isolation post ups where you're drawing double teams. It's just trying to find a way to get two to the ball, get the defense be playing behind the ball, and then you attack your advantages. You're picking on bad defenders now. That's just the game. The game is turned into. We're setting like on like ball screens with guards just to get a switch, or a bad big guy just to get a switch or an angle, and now you're playing advantage basketball. So. I've been, at Illinois. Obviously, they're one of the best offensive teams in the country, and they literally play in concepts, don't run a lot of sets, and they pick on mismatches. They play to advantages. Here, we're kind of trying to adapt to that a little bit. We're playing faster, but we still run a lot of sets. We're trying to generate a shot or an offensive solution to how you guard us and running sets. So there's been a blend of that. We're playing a lot more pick and roll, as you saw last year with our personnel with Ben Hammond and Neo F. Dallas. We play a lot more pick and roll. So just trying to, like I said, plan to the strengths of your team, but also trying to create advantages in situations for defenses to put them in stress.
Speaking on this stop specifically with Coach Young, how has this stop informed your evaluations?
Um, Okay, so now evaluating is different. Okay. It's a lot different because you're dealing with money now. This is we're in a business. I posted something on my Instagram last night, like, yo, this is college basketball. The you have $40 to build a team and you got all these good players up there, but This is now you got to be a GM, an evaluator, a basketball coach. You got to do it all now. So your budget may be XYZ, and now you got to build a team and say, okay, these are the pieces I need. What can I fill this hole with? So it's a whole different eval now because you can't bank on year to year having these kids. Back then it was like, yo, in 2 years, this dude gonna be really good. Nah, them days are over. He might walk in your office in March and say, yo, I'm out. So the developmental, the developmental relationship based recruitment is, I'm not gonna say it's all the way dead, but it's damn near dead because they're all free agents every year and they want to get paid. So understanding that you may plug a hole one year with a kid that you may say, yo, defender, rebounder, tough guy, and he goes out and plays really well for you, well, he's going to outplay that role because financially he said, well, I did this and I should deserve this. And then some other school's willing to give him more, and you still have him slotted in that role. So your evaluation has to be, for me, I think now more important than ever, if you can get positional size, guys that can do multiple things, play multiple positions, two-way guys, you can put a pretty good roster together. Now it's hard now because you try to stack players on top of each other, it never works. You're trying to play 10, 11 guys. Somebody's not going to be happy. Somebody's going to want to get out of there. So the more versatility you have, let's say you have 8, 9 really good players, maybe you're redshirt number 10, 11, and they all can play and play together and play multiple positions. It helps your roster balance. So, the days of platoon and having 5 in, 5 out, it's going to be really hard in this era.
Talk about the difference between coaching, foreign-born players, especially European players. You just said you had Nicolas this year. Talk about the difference in coaching them versus the American athlete.
Different. It's a different game for them. When Neo first got here, shit, it was totally different for him. The way he sees the game, the way they play the game in Europe is not the American game. It's not the college game. So you kind of got to blend the two together. Try to make it make sense to them, but also still try and make it make sense for your team too. Um, they play with a 24-second shot clock. Usually they're getting straight to the action and boom, solution. Let's go play. We may run a little more fluff in the States, a little more false motion. The ball's moving a little bit more. They're like, yo, let's get to this ball screen. Let's figure out how they guard it and let's play. So it's a different game, but especially the ones that speak English, they pick it up pretty fast. They learn that it's more physical here than they probably realize. It's tougher. The speed of the game is a little bit faster. So I mean, the difference in the European kids, they are taught to play the game at a young age. They learn to play pick and roll at a young age. They learn to play two-man games at a young age. We're hooping at AU events. They're not AU players over there. You know what I mean? They don't have AU. They're playing club basketball. So the same plays that the top league team is running, shit, they're running at 14, 15. So they're getting a little bit better understanding of concepts while we're taught natural aggression at a young age. Go at them. You hear the AU shit all the time. Go at them, be in attack mode. So that can be the culture shock for these European kids coming over because our kids are usually just aggressive, attacking, while they're more calculated at times, can play more with a steady pace and an understanding of team concept of basketball. And once you blend the two and you can get those guys to understand the difference, it can be pretty cool. As you can see, like with team like Illinois, Arizona, they have some European guys. Shoot, man, they're killing it.
100%. One. My next question, Coach, is talk about your process for figuring out what motivates an athlete and evaluating their mental makeup before they reach Virginia Tech.
That's kind of been the hardest thing, especially when you're recruiting the portal. You're trying to get intel and information on a kid for a week, 2 weeks. That's why sometimes the best transfers are the ones you already had a relationship with or recruited because you kind of know what you're getting. But that's important, man. I think those things are extremely important. Just getting to know the camp around the kid. Is he here just because of the money? Is he a competitive kid? Is he a worker? Is he tough? That can be challenging. And when you're speed dating and trying to just put a roster together in 2 weeks, you don't know what you're retaining come March, April. Seven guys walk in your office and say they're leaving, and now you got to put it all together. So it can be challenging, man. I think that's been the hardest part of college basketball, and that's why a team like Iowa can overachieve. They don't have the most talent, but those guys have played together, been together. They have chemistry. You look at Nebraska. They didn't have a super big NIL budget, but those guys have played a lot of games together. And then you look at a team, not throwing, look like a Kentucky. You're trying to put a lot of talent together and put it all together, and sometimes it doesn't work out. So now you'll start to see so many high major teams that are losing so many guys. Purdue's another one. They have continuity, so you can make those runs. But I would say that those traits are important. You can't skip over them. Now you're starting to see character wins in college basketball still, and you gotta hunt for that first, and then the talent will follow it, and the discipline and so forth will follow it.
100%. You can't build a program and culture with a lot of freshmen and transfers in today's era. Talk about balancing those team priorities in recruitment in the NIL era.
Yeah, that's why retention is so important. You got to keep the keepers of the culture, man. You want to keep those guys, those veterans in your program that you've coached. That when you're bringing a new family member into the program, they can say, "Hey, yo, this not how we do shit. This not how we do things around here." And you try to bring 12, 13 new guys in, and you're teaching concepts over again. You're teaching culture. You gotta spend double the time in the summer with them dudes to try and build your culture. You know, you you gotta hold the line. And it's to me, it's hard because one, you're getting 12 new guys, they're all jockeying for position, they're competing, they're trying to get playing time. So everybody's gonna be outside their body a little bit. Everybody's trying to do a little bit too much. Uh, and you even see it during the season. Like dudes is free agents, they like, shit, I'm trying to get a bucket, I'm trying to get paid next year. That's their mindset now. So the teams that can eliminate that usually are teams that are gonna have success. And you got dudes shutting it down because their role ain't what they should be. They're trying to get their year back. They're redshirting and they're not even hurt. We're doing some crazy times in college basketball. So that piece, not trying to coach 10, 12 strangers every year is important. So you keep your core group together, add to it and get your pieces together after that. I think it's important. But it's no matter how you do it, everybody's gonna go through it. Not all the pieces are gonna fit these days because, again, you speed dating and you're trying to put a team together.
Mm. I saw a quote that I really liked in an article from your high school head coach, Coach Reed, legend in his own right. He said he only runs on one battery. He doesn't have an off switch.
No, that's facts.
Talk about how you carry that forward in your coaching career and try to kind of, I'm assuming, like put that into your players, to serve them not only at Virginia Tech but kind of beyond then.
I'll tell you two stories about Coach Tree. This was funny. This one I knew. So at Lake Clifton, you got to run cross country. If you play basketball, you're running cross country. So I came over. I'm running cross country, and I'm late one day. I'm late for cross country practice, right? And he light me up one day. He said, "I don't give a fuck who you are, Chester Frazier, yada yada yada. Late for my fucking practice. Get on the line. I got the bricks out. This is the old school bricks, Dunbar, taped up bricks, and he running me. So again, even though I was one of the better players, he checked me right away. Like, yo, this ain't what the fuck we do at Lake Clifton. Boom, boom, boom. Fall in line. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then there was another time we having a lackluster practice. I'm talking about, man, we we was terrible. This is over the break, and he just in practice. Yo, get the fuck out. Take my shit off. He followed us down to the locker room. You know what I mean? And Coach Tree, if you're watching this, you know this 100% facts. So we like, we still practicing. No, get the fuck out. So we go down to the locker room. He pissed off, man. My man, about he that damn near so emotional. He got tears in his eyes, Any of you punk motherfuckers want to fight? Uh, let me take my shoes. Let me take my dress. Something he said to it. Let me take my dress shoes off first. And yo, like it was just that passionate about it. And like Coach Tree, I played for Tree, Coach Tree and Daryl Wade. Two, I mean, they coached us. You know what I mean? We got coached hard. They got after us. It wasn't always just chummy and peaches and cream, man. Them dudes was competitive, so um, they held the culture, you know what I mean? And you dealing with, I mean, I had dudes on my team with ankle monitor bracelets on, you know what I mean? But they held the line, you know. Coach Tree, I'm gonna tell you one of the few things he would do, he would bring like we ain't eat right in high school, you know that. Like we out here, we might go a whole school day and play a game and not eat. My man used to bring um, lunch meat sandwiches, as our pregame, some juice, just little stuff like that. And I think about it now, like, damn, he ain't had to do that, like just trying to make sure everybody was good. We had to sign in to school in the morning. Every morning, we had, like to know you were in school. Hey, come to the gym, sign in, boom. You don't sign in, you can't play, you can't practice. So that was just accountability, So that little, just and stuff I didn't even think about as a kid. Now I'm thinking about as a coach, like, damn, that's high level accountability in a place like where Lake Clifton, where, shoot, man, the academic standards ain't the greatest, and the school attendance probably not the greatest. You got dudes showing up, at lunchtime, halfway through the day, but no, we were there every morning on time, and he made sure of it. So that was just a couple of things that he used to hold the line for at Lake Cliff.
You kind of just touched on it. I spoke with one of your current players earlier today, and he said that, something you're really good at is, really getting on him, like you just said, in the moments that he needs it, but also finding opportunities to kind of come behind and congratulate. So talk about what you've learned about, picking your spots as an assistant coach, kind of being a therapist at sometimes and being the disciplinarian at other times, and when you need to be both.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important that you coach him. Like I said, um, like with Amani, you know, the best kid in the world. But there's times where you gotta hold the line with him, and let him know, like, yo, this you bullshitting today, or you got to do this, you got to do that. But he's such a great kid. You have the relationship where you can go off the court and be like, man, why didn't you do this? Or you watch the film with him, and you can have a real conversation. But if my whole thing is if he's our best player and I'm allowed to coach him that way, I'm holding the standard for everybody else. So there's times where I would tell him before practice, yo, I'm about to go at you today. Like I'm going at you today, just so you know, because I want everybody else to fall in line. And he'd be like, yo, he's the best kid in the world. Like, yo, cool, coach. It's whatever. You know what I mean? Like the easiest kid in the world. So it's important to have that balance, but sometimes with a lot of young assistants, you can't cross that friend, homeboy, brother, big bro slash, and you got to coach. You got to be coached still. And if they think that you're easy or a pushover, they'll coast. You know what I mean? So I've never been the guy to let them dudes just coast. I get on their ass. I hold the standard. And just when you get between those lines, it's war. And I'll be the first. Off the court, I'm a jokester, I'm a prankster. We're gonna kick it, we're gonna have fun, we're gonna talk shit. But then when you get between them lines, you're just a different animal. We here for business. It's work time. And that's how I carry it.
Think some of the viewers probably don't know to speak on when you're doing the recruiting, how you're honest with them about what that relationship is going to be once they come to
Oh
visit,
yeah,
once they
yeah.
hire.
I think that's the other thing. Like I take pride in not lying. I mean, like man, like I did this. I played this game. I'm not too far removed from what they're going through. Worst thing you could do is lie to a kid, especially a kid with ambitions of, maybe trying to play at the next level or, whatever it may be. So try to under promise, over deliver. But one thing I do tell every kid, man, look, I'm gonna be here for you for life. You know, um, you're gonna develop, you're gonna get better. I can't promise you're gonna make it to the NBA. You can promise yourself that, but I can't promise you that. But one thing you're gonna be taken care of. You're not gonna be hungry. You're gonna be a part of a family, and then I'm gonna coach you really hard. And then at the end of the day, you're either going to do two things. You're going to get a world-class degree and you're going to make money playing basketball. Beyond that, I can't promise you much more than that. So I'm honest, like, am I going to start? Shit, I don't know. I can't promise you that. You know what I mean? Like, you got to come compete and earn it. You'll have every opportunity to, but I don't promise and oversell what I can or can't do. But you can ask people that I recruited. It's just love. It's just family. That's just the way it got to be. Because I went through it. I went to school away from home, and so I understand what it's like to feel like you're on an island by yourself, or it's just you and your teammates, and not having a coach that's just gonna be there for you when you need them. And I had those things, so I always wanted to be that extension when I became a head coach. I mean, assistant coach.
What have you learned, in like one sentence, what have you learned from each head coach that you will take forward in your first head coach job down the line?
Man, Coach Weber. So you learn either one or two ways. You learn from success or failure. Either way, you learn something, right? And what made Coach Weber really good, I'll take is just playing hard, competing, defense. Um, you know, being able to hold those guys to a standard every single day in practice, the preparation. Coach Young, um, probably learned the most about managing people from him. Being able to connect with your staff and managing people. He's the best I've ever been around at just managing people. Got a real good temperament. Everyday guy. Temperament. And what you see is what you get. He ain't gonna lie to you and pull the wool over. But just managing people, being a CEO, and then Underwood, man. Underwood, I would say this: not a micromanager at all. So he trusts you to do your job. Do your job. We'll get the results. Not a big meeting guy. Probably does a really good job of letting you just work and do your job. The best thing about Coach Underwood, man, and um, big disciplinarian, big disciplinarian when the standards aren't met. But he lets you figure it out as a coach. I did appreciate that. Didn't like every time he won't bother you. He ain't gonna call you and say, "Oh, who you recruiting? Where you going?" Just do your job. That was pleasant to see. So he has complete trust in his staff. And then DeVries was more like he's just a basketball 24/7 guy. Preparation. I mean, he might call you at midnight watching film, 1 o'clock in the morning. He watching film for the next game. We might meet 9 in the morning till 12, figuring out practice or figuring out the next game. So preparation for him was huge. Sometimes it felt like a little overkill, but preparation for him was huge. So just learning how to prepare and dissecting, offense and defense with him it was, it was, uh, it was fun at times, to sit in the war room as a staff and come together as a unit and figure out how to win instead of feeling like, hey, this is just it. You on your own, go figure it out how to win. Sometimes we get in there and figure it out as a staff. So that part was fun. And then just, for all three of them, man, for me, it felt like we all wanted to win. And that's when you're in the right spot. When it's just the main thing is, look, we got to win games, and we're trying to, hang a banner, win a championship, have whatever you want to do. We're trying to do that, and I've been fortunate to work at places where winning was the standard.
What do the most successful coaches do to elicit buy-in?
Say that again.
What do the most successful coaches do to elicit buy-in from their players?
Man, I think it's a heavy standard of discipline. From from everywhere I've been, the discipline, has been the major key. Execution is demanded. Practice habits are demanded. And sometimes you may lose a game. You got to sit a guy. And I've been a part of that. Where hey, give you a prime example. I started five when we were playing Iowa when I was at Illinois. I mind you, I had the best scout team in America at Illinois at the time. We're not playing Amani Hansberry. He was on the scout team as a freshman. This is a notice to some of you young guys, coming out. We had Dane Danger, who's in the NBA G League, killing it. He was only playing 7 minutes a game. He was on the scout team. Nico Moretti, who plays at Florida Atlantic, Sincere Harris, who played at Cincinnati last year, and Draven Gibbs Lawhorn, who averaged 20 a night at UNLV. That was my scout team at Illinois. The year we went to the Elite Eight, we had the best scout team in the history of basketball. Okay. Every practice was like a game. So Iowa, we're sluggish. We come out. Yo, he subbed the whole five out. He just said, look, get out. Amani, Dane, Nico. He leave these dudes in for like 6 straight minutes, and I think everybody on the staff was like, "Yo, what you doing?" And it was just like we were flat. He was looking for a boost of energy. He's like, "Fuck it, I got the best scout team. Put them dudes in." They end up taking the lead and holding the line for us. So, just that, like I said, that discipline, man. You ain't doing your job. Get out. Sit down. And I think there's a certain level of that you have to have because if you're not going to play right, we're going to lose anyway. So I can't be afraid to sit you.
What do you want your legacy and reputation to be?
Winning. Winning, um, being a guy that takes pride in winning, but also that I've treated people right. I've impacted lives. That's most important for me. But then ultimately, man, I love to win. I'm a competitor, um, and I want to be able to look back and say I've changed people's lives. That's the most important thing for me. That's why I got into it. I love helping kids, helping these guys, navigate this crazy world we're living in. And I have experience in just about any part of life that I can relate to these guys. Coming from the background I come from, being a former college basketball player, being a former professional basketball player in Europe, and just really having a major impact on lives and helping guys become men, helping young guys become men. I take pride in that.
That experience that you just talked about, I want you to pick out one in particular moment that you faced adversity and what tools that you used to navigate through that time period. Could be a player, as a coach, could be overseas.
You want to know a funny story? And Ricky Harris was my teammate in Germany. He'll tell you this. And this is just being transparent. And this is where I learned I had a really unprofessional moment, right? Um, and I was emotional at the time. This is my second year in Germany. So I didn't I took the K-State job while I was playing in the playoffs. And this is my loyalty more than anything. So we had too many Americans and our coach, who was actually played at he's from the area, played at DeMatha and I want to say was it DeMatha and McNamara, one of those schools. It may have been O'Connell. John Patrick, he played at Stanford back in the day. He was our coach. So Ricky wasn't playing. Ricky wasn't, he set Ricky for the playoffs. And, Ricky was available. And I felt the way they handled it was wrong. And I'm like, yo, I know I'm going to coach at K-State. Like, I don't like what you're doing to my guy. I recommended this guy to you. I don't like that you're just benching him. So I said, look, I'm leaving. Fuck it, I'm out. You can play Rick. I played the first playoff game. I played well. We lost, but they didn't pay me yet. They owe me like some money. They owe me some real money. So like the next day I walk into practice. I'm like, yo, I'm not practicing. I'm not practicing until I get my money. I come in there with dress shoes on, some basketball shorts. You know what I mean? And I'm just young. Like I said, I'm young. I'm fiery, and I'm really mad about Rick not playing more than anything. I didn't really care about the money. I never got the money, so I'm mad that my guy, my boy from the crib, from Baltimore. So and he just, he didn't play him. So I'm like, all right, fuck it. I know I'm going to coach. My playing career is over. Rick still got a career ahead of him. This is my guy. Rick can score the ball. Rick don't play defense though, but that's why he wasn't playing him. So I'm like, fuck it, I'm out. I'm gonna leave. And I get in the car and I go to the airport, man, after game one. If I could do that over again, I would have finished the year off. Um, but I was really falling on the sword for my guy. I said, no, Rick, you still got a career. You need to finish the year. I'm out. If I could do it over, I would have played. I would have played regardless of the money situation, regardless of Rick. I would have honored my word, and I take pride in being a man of my word. So I that was some unprofessional, whatever. But I look back at it and I still laugh about it. All my old teammates, we still laugh about it, because it was a moment of like, yo, I'm protecting my brother, not more of a moment of like, fuck my teammates, so, that type of deal. But um, if I could do that over again, I learned a lot. Like that was completely unprofessional. You know what I mean? Like, but I had to go through that to realize, like, yo, I was dead wrong. There's a lot of moments where I reflect, like, yo, I'm wrong. And I look in the mirror and say, yo, you're wrong. So I grew from it. I understood it. And I never looked back from it. But yeah, it was that was one of the funniest moments in my career, man.
I'll definitely have to run that by Ricky next time I see him. What's been
Yeah.
your happiest moment on a basketball floor?
Man, I'll be honest, there's several. Um, there's several. I'm gonna say winning the Big Ten championship at my alma mater was cool.
As a player?
As a coach,
Okay.
I never got to win one as a player. So when I got back there, that was like my dream, my mission. I just like, yo, I want to win a championship. I want to cut down a net and hang a banner. I never got the chance to do that at Illinois. Um, and then from another one was K-State, just because I knew how hard it was to win there. And in my first year there, we won a championship. And then my last year there, we won the Big 12. And that to me, that was the most rewarding one because it was our own players. We built that roster, we built that team, and it was almost an impossible. What people say couldn't happen at K-State at the time because Kansas is right down the road. You have Texas, you have all these high level schools in the Big 12, and we're out here. We have no business winning the league, with 3-star players that were just tough, gritty, grimy dudes. And then also making it to the Elite Eight, beating Kentucky. That was the other one. It's like, again, we had K-State. We finished the game with 5 guards on the floor. This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, that group. And we finished the season, Dean Wade didn't play. So all the odds are stacked against us. We're like, yo, we don't know how we're gonna win these games. We end up going to the Elite Eight and beating Kentucky. And it's like we finished the game with Ahmad Wainwright, who was Trinity Valley Community College, Kamal Stokes at 6 foot, Barry Brown at 6'3", Cartier Jada at 6'2", 6'3", and Mike McGurl, who was 6'1". We finished the game the last minute and a half with 5 midgets on the floor, and we win the game. So, that was rewarding as well.
Okay. College basketball would be better if blank.
College basketball would be better if we could figure out the transfer slash NIL space in a better way to suit everybody. Because now it's the haves and the have-nots.
Hmm. Okay. Two more questions and we'll get you out of here, Coach. Really appreciate the time. Who are three guys you think I should interview next? Young, hungry assistant coaches that have a bright future ahead of them.
Young guys. I don't know who you haven't interviewed. Have you interviewed Ricky yet?
I have not interviewed Ricky yet. That's a good
Ricky
one.
Harris, good one. If you interviewed Sadler from Nichols,
Have not yet.
that'd be a good one. That would be a good one. I think he's got a good story to tell. Young head coach, could definitely help some of these young guys out. I'm trying to think who else. Who else? You done Jamal Brunt yet?
Not yet.
Be cool. That's 3 cool ones, man. The 3 guys that I know personally, that'd be cool. I mean, they're from the area. That's why I said it. They're from the area. They're good dudes, and they all got different story, and would be fascinating. Stink Norris, Kevin Norris would be a fun one. That's for sure.
He's
So
a character. Yeah.
no, that's my guy. So that's crazy. He was my assistant coach when I was playing at Lake Clifton. He was our assistant,
Wow.
varsity
Okay.
assistant. That's where he first started coaching.
Wow. Okay. Very cool. You had two really you had two great parents that worked incredibly hard to put you in the position you're in now and set you on that path.
Yep.
Talk about if you can kind of summarize what your father and mother meant to you, and what you're kind of carrying on their legacy within your coaching and with your
Yeah.
parenting with your kids these days.
Yeah. So, I was fortunate, man. I had mom and dad in my life. I think when I was 13, 14, they split up. But my dad, that was like my guy. So hardworking dude, worked his ass off for our family, provided, I didn't have everything I wanted, but I had enough. You know what I mean? It's the same for my mom. Did I come from nothing? Yes, we didn't have a lot, but that for me, material things didn't matter at that time. Shit, I mean, I was able to do everything I wanted to do. Um, were there times where, we wish we had a little bit more? Yeah. But, I always had nice basketball shoes. I always had sneakers. I didn't have as much clothes as I wanted. Hey, back then it was two, three pair of jeans and a white tee. I was cool. You know what I mean? So that didn't matter. My mom was the disciplinarian in the family. She was the tough love parent. My dad was more of the good cop, love on you, hug on you type parent. And that's mostly because he was gone all the time. He was at work. He worked a lot. Mom was at home with the kids, struggling, feeding us, cooking, and holding the line. So she was the biggest disciplinarian. That was the all you do is play basketball. That was that talk. And it was the tough love talk, like but they each did it in their own way. But um my mom, just watching how she raised six kids, man, and we live in the projects, man. We ain't have much, and she held it down. She made sure we ate, we were fed, we had clean clothes. Um, the sacrifices were there, and my dad, again, dude worked his butt off. Worked his butt off 5, 6 days a week, and he traveled for work. I mean, dad worked in New York, and would commute from New York to Baltimore, and he would stay in New York Monday through Friday, come home, and we spent Friday through Sunday with him. And he worked his tail off, and I finally got a chance to see how he didn't have an apartment or nothing. My man was sleeping in like one of those like RV trailers on the job site just to make sure we had enough to eat and the sacrifices he made. I didn't know this stuff until I got older. One time I'm coming home from prep school, and I take a bus. I take a bus down to New York to meet with him and drive home with him. And I saw, like, yo, this is how he was sleeping just to have a place to stay to work and then drive to Baltimore. I was like, yo, this is like, I damn near cried, like, cause I didn't know. I'm just like, shitty little kid just saying, ready for dad to come home, give me a couple dollars to go to the grocery store with or get some shoes. But I didn't understand the sacrifice driving 4.5 hours and, sleeping on a job site just so his family could have, it was, so it just makes you work hard. It makes you appreciate what you do have. Knowing what I do come from and what it could have been. There was times where I never saw a path to even have a car. Like I never thought I would drive a car because it was so expensive growing up. I never thought I would own a home. Just coming from what I come from, that didn't seem like a realistic possibility. You know what I mean? Just the shit you grow up around, drug infested neighborhood, cops everywhere, times where the police jump out on you, just you sitting on your step with your friends, they think you selling drugs. So the stuff I saw growing up, I never thought I would live the life I'm living now, and I'm grateful and appreciative. So I don't take this for granted at all. I'm having fun. It doesn't feel like I work. Just I'm doing something that I love to do, so it don't feel like work at all. And it beats the alternative, knowing what I grew up around and what most of my friends dead in jail, struggling. Life hits you hard, and I'm pretty fortunate, man. I'm just being honest.
Last question, man. Really appreciate your time. Coach Frazier, what is your why? Why did you make all the sacrifices you made? Why do you put so much time into your craft? What makes the game of basketball so important to you? What is your why?
Somebody did it for me, man. Somebody sacrificed their time to coach me. Somebody meaning a lot of people. You go down the line, like I told you, so many people that had and involved in my development as a player and coach. and just paying it forward, man. Not being a selfish dude, just trying to help somebody else succeed in life. That at the end of the day, that's the only legacy we can have as coaches. You think about it, you're gonna coach a different group of guys every year, and more importantly, what they do in basketball is what kind of men they turn out to be, you know, or what kind of husband they turn out to be. How productive are they after you coach them? Because that's the why, really. That's why you do it. So I try to keep in touch with all my former players, make sure they're straight, and just paying it forward. Somebody helped me get to where I am. I was a hopeless project baby from Baltimore that had no chance at life if it wasn't for the game. So I'm trying to give back to what I took from the game and what I used from the game of basketball to give somebody else and give them a chance to succeed at life. So that's how I look at it. These guys are making a shit ton of money. I'm happy for them, because that wasn't a realistic possibility for me. I was happy to get a scholarship check and a meal plan. So these guys are making life-changing money, and now it's, you know, how can they be smart? You'll hear me tell all those guys, don't blow it, don't spend all that money. Invest it, and that's really my why, man. Is just want these dudes to be productive members of society and giving back to something I took a lot from this game. I've stolen a lot, damn near, from this game, and it's a game that I would have played for free. Look at what it's given me, so it can do the same for everybody else if they treat it the right way.
Really appreciate the time, man. Virginia Tech Associate Head Coach Chester Frazier. You can follow him on social media at underscore Chester Frazier. Coach, really appreciate the time. Look forward to seeing you in the gym soon.
Yes, sir, my man. I appreciate you.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hoop Threads podcast with our second Next Up Coaches episode with Coach Chester Frazier, Virginia Tech. Like I said, follow him on social media at underscore Chester Frazier. Also follow the podcast at hashtag or at Hoop Threads Pod on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all the above. Interviewing a lot of prospects, a lot of coaches, just trying to give back and grow the game and give the young people coming up in the same space a blueprint of sorts to follow. So appreciate all the support and tap in with you guys soon.